Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakahagwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, because of the judgments that Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi is bringing to this planet for all the wickedness you people have been committing on it, chiefly in the United States of America, the bedrock of wickedness on the planet, where all these vile acts and, philosophies and ways of life that pollute the planet emanate from. And who runs America? The biblical Edomite, the so-called white man, the wicked of the scriptures. Verse 15, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that one people standing up and fighting against another goes into many things. One race of people standing up and fighting against another, nation rising against nation, as it says in Matthew chapter 24, class warfare with the rich versus the poor, political warfare, right versus left, red versus blue, liberal versus conservative, just division at all levels. And we can already see in America that people are divided on damn near everything you can be divided on. So imagine those tendencies only exacerbated when there's an economic collapse out here, food shortages, lights out, new LOCK downs coming. And those swords in their hands is talking about that modern day sword, the gun, amongst, people having their hands on anything that they can get in this time. Literal swords, knives, sticks, bats, clubs, Molotov cocktails, chains, you name it. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. And when you go into the definition for that word sedition, it means conduct or speech inciting open rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes. And your modern day kings and princes are those in the government, mayors, senators, governors, the president, the prime ministers, as well as the authorities that uphold the system, like the police or the military. Hey, when it's, dog eat dog out here, every man for himself, hey, when you don't know where your next meal's coming from, hey, these people are going to easily disregard the laws and in a lot of instances go after these very same politicians because they know that, hey, they're in this situation because of these horrific policies that they've been pushing out here, which a lot of those that are higher up in the government are on board with the agenda of the elites, which involves, crashing the different economies of these countries and governments, especially the United States of America, so they can bring in that GREATRESET, their NW0, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. In verse 16, where it talks about sedition among men, is what I'll be focusing on with this video. This is an article from military.com titled, Dozens of Troops Suspected of Advocating Overthrow of U.S. Government, New Pentagon Extremism Report says. And when you're advocating for the overthrow of a government, what is that? Sedition among men. So we can clearly see that 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, and these other prophecies dealing with divisions coming between the people, people turning against their governments, a kingdom being divided, etc., are taking place as we speak. And like I said, the main place of judgment and that these calamities that Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is going to bring onto this planet for the wickedness these people have been committing is going to be in the United States of America. But let's get into this article. An annual Pentagon report on extremism within the ranks reveals that 78 service members were suspected of advocating for the overthrow of the U.S. government, and another 44 were suspected of engaging or supporting T-ism. And hey, these veterans, have a lot to, be angry at the U.S. government about. Look at how the veterans are treated in this country, especially those that fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. The government threw y'all under the bus and what? Made you fight for, the powers that be, the corporations, the oil and natural resources, while they sold that lie to you of bringing democracy and freedom to the people. And then a lot of these, people that are actually in the military, don't like where this country's going, especially those red-blooded, patriotic Americans. They joined to keep that good old America, that rainbow America, going. But they're seeing that this country is turning against the old ways of America. Being a so-called cis white male is seen as the number one problem, and that white supremacism is the number one problem in the country, which, Edomite supremacism is the number one problem on the face of the earth. But regardless, Edomites, American Edomites, are being demonized in their own country and being demonized in their own military. So you got a lot of these, again, patriots, veterans, even those in the police, in these different groups on the side, these militia groups. And they're training because they know that, societal collapse is coming, and, they're preparing themselves accordingly. And some think that they're going to be able to take the country back and have a second American Revolution and bring back the good old days. But that's not the case. We're living in the twilight hours of the United States of America being the sole superpower, and you Edomites being the rulers of the planet right now. There is no going back. There is going to be no second American Revolution or no second Renaissance. The only thing you Edomites have to look forward to is 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery after you're taken out of power. And then at the end of those 1,000 years, your entire nation being permanently culled from the planet with fire. But I digress. The report released Thursday by the Defense Department Inspector General revealed that in fiscal 2023, there were 183 allegations of extremism across all branches of the military, broken down not only into efforts to overthrow the government and T-ism, but also advocating for widespread discrimination or violence to achieve political goals. The statistics indicate the military continues to grapple with extremism following its public denunciations and a stand down across the services ordered by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in 2021. Furthermore, the numbers do not make it clear whether the military's approach is working. In 2021, the year the data was first released to Congress, there were 270 allegations of extremist activities. In 2022, that figure dropped to 146 before rebounding over the past year. The Army had the most allegations in fiscal 2023, with 130 soldiers suspected of participation in extremist activity. The Air Force suspected 29 airmen. The Navy and Marine Corps reported 10 service members each. And we know that Esau likes to play with the numbers. Best believe it's much higher than that in all the branches. For the first time, the Inspector General also reported numbers for the Space Force as a separate entity from the other services. It suspected 4 guardians of the galaxy, of extremism. The IG report also included instances of alleged criminal gang activity. There were 58 allegations of gang activity across the military. However, the report did note that out of all the suspected extremism and criminal gang activity, 68 of the total cases were investigated and cleared or deemed unsubstantiated. In the U.S., extremist activity, including neo-Nazi, white, Edomite, supremacist, and anti-government movements, has been growing, and the numerous violent plots by veterans and even active duty troops have been thwarted in recent years. Experts on extremist movements have warned about the growing potential of more violence and future attacks, similar to the Oklahoma City federal building bombing in 1995 that killed 168 and was carried out by an Army veteran. In February, a former National Guardsman, Brandon Russell, who founded the Atomwaffen Division, a neo-Nazi hate group, was charged with plotting to blow up Baltimore's electrical grid and cause as much suffering as possible, and who lives in Baltimore with a large group of people, you Israelites, especially the Southern Kingdom, or you so-called Negroes. Russell, who allegedly kept a framed photo of Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2018 after an arrest in Florida for possessing explosives. And I have a book called Irregular Army that talks about how a lot of gang members and, those that are in neo-Nazi or hate groups, join the military just to get that experience, to get that special training so they can bring it back to their own militia groups and, patriot groups and stuff like that to prepare and train for the collapse of America, this system which they know is coming. And it is coming according to biblical prophecy. And like we read back in 2 Ezra chapter 15, one people shall stand up and fight against another, and there shall be sedition amongst men, which we can clearly see is brewing, according to this article and just a bunch of other information that's been coming out. I did a video a couple of years ago showing that with each successive year, threats against people in the government has been increasing with, each successive year. And I did another video where they did a poll that showed that a lot of Americans believe that a second civil war is coming, and that the only way to achieve your goals is not through the democratic way, talking it out, but actually fighting it out, point blank, period. But that's it with this article. But now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. And that's not talking about the ancient Egyptians who were so-called Africans, the biblical Hamites, and specifically, the Mizraim, the Mizraimites. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. This is talking about those spiritual Egyptians as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. That great city, which is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, the United States of America. So these Americans, fighting against each other. One people standing up and fighting against each other. Hey, especially these Edomite Americans, that see that their country, the country they grew up with, the country that their parents and grandparents, raised them up on, is falling away. They're about to go buck wild against not just you Jakes and you other nations out here, but against their own Edomite brothers and sisters who they see as, going against that good old America they believe in. You Jakes that believe in, those Edomites that believe in diversity, multiculturalism, socialism, liberalism, all that. And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be sedition amongst men. Average everyday Edomites fighting each other, as well as these Edomites fighting against those other Edomites in the government. And as it says in Mark chapter 3, verses 24 to 25, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Again, we're living in the twilight hours of the rulership of the United States of America, and you Edomites as a whole globally before you're taken out of power, and the true rulers of the planet, the children of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel, are put back in their rightful position at the head, governing over this planet in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Yasharallah. But that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the